and welcome back to True Crime Guys podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and actually, you know what? I'm not your host today. I'm still Michael, but Andy's your host today. Andy, welcome. Everybody give him a big round of applause in your car. Thanks for being here
There's
today,
some
Andy.
good Jay Leno music coming down.
I'm even going to pass you the mouse.
Do I gotta stand here and
There
do a
you go.
monologue for
Now
a little
you-
bit? Yeah, you heard about this? You heard about?
Yeah, and you
heard
got to
about
bob
this?
your head around so the mic doesn't have good
You
quality.
seen this? Have you heard about this?
You heard about this? You heard about this in the news? It's
Just
kind
come down here and give everybody a good monologue. What's in the news, guys? What you guys doing? What's in the news?
I mean, that is your job to actually
It's
give us the
basically,
news. I
yes.
mean, it is headlines. I mean, yeah, do a Jay Leno bit if you want.
Someone's got to keep up with actually what's going on in the world today.
Seriously.
You're all preoccupied with the past, Michael. Everything you researched happened years ago.
It's the hardest part of my job, Andy.
Every time I ask you about, it's like, hey, did you hear about that thing recently? No.
Andy, I'm studying about another death.
I'm studying about something that happened in 1968. You understand this?
Right. So excited about the things I learned. I don't even know what the hell's going on in my life.
Every once in a while, you're like, this one happened like last year. Actually, I know about this. It's like Captain America. It's like, I understood that reference. But Michael, hopefully with some of these stories, you will understand the references I'm making, because I feel like the headlines of today's headlines and shenanigans. I feel like no one's gonna miss this reference, because I feel like everybody knows what we're talking about today.
Okay, I think I know as well.
We are talking about for the main story of headlines and shenanigans today, guys. We are going to be backtracking to a story we talked about a few months ago, because it is all everyone's talking about now. But that is the arrest and arraignment of Sean Diddy Combs.
Never heard of him.
Puffy? You know Puff Daddy? Puffy?
Puff P. Diddy?
You know Puffy? P. Diddy?
P. Diddy Puff?
Yeah. Had so many
Lord.
names along the way.
Yeah, he has.
But Sean Combs, the disgraced hip-hop mogul, now faces federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges in an indictment that was unsealed Tuesday. He was arrested Monday, September 16th in New York after being indicted by a federal grand jury. The arrest and indictment come after a months-long sex trafficking investigation and 10 months after a flurry of women came forward with allegations of sexual and other abuses.
Whoa.
I feel
So
like
he's interested in women as well.
I feel like he's interested in anybody who he can have power over to an extent. I'm not going to make any just bold accusations, but there have been a lot of accusations thrown his way over the past.
I don't think you need to make any more accusations, Andy. I think we have plenty.
I feel like all the accusations have been thrown over the past 2 decades, maybe, ever since he's been famous to an extent.
Yeah, Tupac is in the grave going, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. Biggie's just over there going like, that's what I fucking said.
Try to tell y'all.
But the indictment covers explicit details of Combs allegedly assaulting several women since 2008. He is accused of verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, and that he hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair, in assaults that took place in over days or in the assaults that took over days or weeks to heal. So that's the amount of damage he inflicted upon them.
Okay, I got you.
In a large focus of the indictment, investigators said that Combs orchestrated sexual encounters with his victims and male sex workers that he referred to as freak-offs. If everybody in the news you've been all over social media, the term freak-off has been popping up everywhere.
Oh, really?
But it has been defined as an elaborate and produced sex performance that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. And the recordings are a big part of this investigation. About a lot of these recordings apparently have been used as blackmail over the time.
I can imagine.
According to authorities, these encounters sometimes lasted for days and often involved multiple commercial sex workers, with Combs drugging the participants to keep the victims obedient and compliant.
Holy shit.
Right? That's some damn near serial killer behavior almost. That's some dark shit we've heard about before.
Yeah, I'm really not surprised. Carry on.
The raids of Combs' Los Angeles and Miami homes resulted in the seizure of supplies for the freak-offs, including drugs and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant, prosecutors said.
Wow.
So that's been all over social media a lot. That's been all over everybody's feeds lately.
That is a lot of lubricant.
That is so much baby oil and lubricant.
1,000 bottles.
The first time I saw that, I was like, I wonder how many they used for that old school scene when they wrestle in the KY pool. Probably still wasn't 1,000 bottles. Damn. But the indictment alleges that Combs and others he associated with were members of a criminal organization that engaged in several illegal activities, including sex trafficking, forced labor, prostitution-related transportation, and coercion, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. That's a hell of a lot of charges right there.
That's a hell of a list.
That's what they talk about. It's a criminal
But he has
organization.
been at it a while. He has been at it a while.
He has been. And that's why they're a lot of the things they've been talking about, like the racketeering charges. These are things that you normally see brought against like mafia people and like mob organizations.
Yeah.
Combs is accused of leading the criminal operations, and the indictment says those who worked for him, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors, were all part of the criminal enterprise, either knowingly or unknowingly. So I guess the unknowingly, you'd have to be pretty oblivious if you're that close in his circle.
Yeah,
and be unknowingly.
Well, look, I saw some videos online, and there were interviews with his bodyguards, or past bodyguards, rather.
Yeah.
And they were sharing stories about Diddy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I mean, can you charge those guys? Especially if they're past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were there while some of this stuff was happening.
If you can tie people back to
that's
certain
tough, man.
crimes, I guess, and you can find money that traces back to them, because that's how they get a lot of these people down. Is a lot of times especially when you get all these like racketeering and
It's
charges
all about
like
the money.
this, they're gonna be able to track that money. But the fact that so many other witnesses are coming forward and they've been able to raid his properties and they've found so much evidence, possibly more evidence that we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be we don't even know all the stuff that's going to come out. There's going to be a lot more. So if you were in his circle and you were knowingly or unknowingly there,
He's throwing a lot of people under the bus, too.
yeah, there's going to be like an Epstein type client list of things that come out with Diddy's freak offs that have been hosted over the past decades.
Lord.
But Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate or threaten others, including victims and witnesses of his assaults, according to the indictment. In the raids of his L.A. and Miami homes, law enforcement officials said they found guns and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers. And you don't really have a gun in your home with the serial number filed off, unless you're kind of planning on ever using that gun for a reason that you wouldn't want the serial number traced back. So
Exactly.
it doesn't look good when you find 3 assault rifles with missing serial numbers.
It doesn't, but this is the least of the evidence of his problems, really.
And another court filing details several other acts of violence and intimidation Combs and his associates then carried out, including kidnapping one person at gunpoint and slicing open a car's convertible top to drop a Molotov cocktail inside, causing the car to explode. That's some guerrilla warfare right there. That is
Seriously.
some literal mafia
That's some Far
tactics.
Cry 6 shit right there.
So throwing Molotovs out there. But the filing also says police reports, fire department records, and witnesses can all corroborate these instances. So I think that was one of those big things that people talked about, how he apparently did that to another famous rapper. It was Kid Cudi or something like that, did something to somebody else's car and blew it up. But either way, there's a lot of witnesses to a lot of this behavior over the past, like I said, 20 years maybe.
Interesting.
Prosecutors have interviewed more than 50 victims of and witnesses to Combs' abuse, but they have expected more people to come forward with their accounts. Given the ongoing nature of the investigation, prosecutors said they cannot share some of the details, including information about the witnesses who have provided or will provide testimony. Because that's a big thing. They're always, all the people talk about online now, it's who is going to testify? Who are the defense going to call?
Yeah.
Who's the prosecution going to call?
Seriously.
How many other celebrities have been at these Diddy freak-offs over the years? We've seen about a lot of things come out with Usher.
Dude, this whole freaking proceeding is going to be
it's going to seem like
months and months, dude.
It's going to seem like a reality TV show.
Oh, yeah.
To an extent.
And it's all going to be on camera.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. You've seen a lot of people already talking about Usher deleting his Twitter accounts, all of his tweets, and all these other people changing things around and trying to distance themselves from Diddy. Now it's guys, it's a lot like the Jeffrey Epstein stuff when he went down. So many political and famous and rich people had to try and distance themselves real quick.
Oh man,
and it's when you see it's got that old adage when you see all the rats abandoning the ship.
Yeah,
it's ship's going down.
Yeah, it is. And that ship is really a fucked up ship.
Yeah, it's full of rats.
Yeah.
I mean, rats look good on a ship. But Williams said Tuesday that he is seeking to have Combs detained while he awaits trial. And in response to the question about whether Combs' associates or employees will face charges, Williams said that he can't take anything off the table. So kind of answering your question there, Michael, about how some of these people might be facing charges and some of them might not. Some of those people, like you talked about his old bodyguard and stuff, those might be people you see testifying against him.
Yeah.
And people can cut a lot of deals to testify.
Oh, I was about to say, they're going to be cutting them. Because, I mean, I would. If I was just an employee and they're like, hey, you need to testify or you're going to prison, I'm like, hey, where do I sign up?
Yeah, where do I sign up, man?
I just work for this motherfucker. I don't know. We ain't friends.
No, Biggie for life. I don't know what to West Side, I guess. I don't know what to tell you.
Nah.
But no, this is one of those things. We talked about it a lot. We've seen a lot of interviews coming around. We've seen a lot of people coming out of the woodwork over the past couple of days. 50 Cent's been a big name, always kind of throwing shade, throwing allegations. We've seen a lot of other people they've not really wanted to ever speak out against Diddy before.
Yeah.
And now we kind of see why.
Yeah.
If this guy's really been running like I said, a mafia type criminal organization this long, there's a reason that people have not been speaking out against him for as long as he has.
They're terrified. I mean, it's the same reason Tupac ain't here, Biggie ain't here. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, back then
there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And it was a lot easier back then, I guess, to get away with some of those crimes. And now the crimes have to be a lot more meticulously planned.
Yep.
And with technology and cameras everywhere now, you can't get away with some of these things. But there's still witnesses. There's still a paper trail. And there's still, like, the fact that there's talking about all these recordings that he made.
Y'all do yourself a favor. Go on YouTube and just look up 50 Cent dissing P. Diddy on different talk shows and stuff. I mean, just the stuff he says. It's interesting because it's so specific.
Mm-hmm.
It's so strange, right? It's like, if he was going to make something up about him, why would it be that?
Yeah.
Why? That's not even that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the worst of these allegations, obviously, but they give you a lot of insight into these allegations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, they were very specific. They were like, they were not like things they were memories.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember this very clearly. This stood out to me because of how weird this was.
Yep.
Like, I remember it very clearly.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we're only going to see more things coming out now. I know that he is being held without bond. Like, he is in jail now. They're not letting him leave. They say he is definitely a flight risk. And I think he's being placed on suicide watch.
Damn.
So they are keeping P. Diddy, I guess they want to not have another Epstein situation where they're like, if this many people might be involved in something, guess what, man? A lot of padded bed sheets and no shoelaces. Lay down, bitch.
Yeah. Exactly.
Eyes on you 24/7, bitch.
Seriously. Wow.
Time to take your grippy sock vacation, man.
Well, if they keep him alive long enough.
Yeah, there's gonna, like I said, there'll be a reality TV show that if this trial comes out and Diddy actually has to go face a lot of these things, it will be I don't want to say the trial of the century because that term gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah,
but it will be like the trial of a generation.
It'll be the trial of the century.
I would say the least of a trial of a generation.
I mean, if OJ was of the 1900s.
Yeah. Then, well, that's what I say. I don't like saying of a century. I like saying of a generation.
Of a generation.
It's like a certain generation remembers. Like,
let's say,
there's always a trial that remembers a generation. Like, there was that one trial that's like, I think all the millennials right now, we all remember like Casey Anthony. Like Casey Anthony was like the millennials trial. Like the fucking country was just torn over Casey Anthony.
Right.
And it's like that was like millennials. And before that, it was OJ. Like OJ was there, and it's like you have these.
If we're honest with ourselves, it's about every 10 years.
Yeah,
that there's a trial of the century, quote unquote. Let's call it trial of the decade. Makes sense. That's
what I said. I like trial of a generation because it's always some fucking thing that just like captures an entire generation of people who were that focused on the media at that point.
Right.
But Diddy. Oh my God!
Yeah, he did.
If that comment,
he did. Okay, let's move on to the next story.
Did he do this? Did he do our next story?
He probably did.
I don't think he did our next story. Although some of the charges may actually fit. Okay. But Michael, for our next headline, this is this is a headline, but it's not so much a shenanigan.
Okay.
But it's a good headline.
Okay.
There's still some questions to be answered. There's still a few things to be coming out for this story, but this came out yesterday, and I saw this, and I was like, this is going in headlines.
Okay.
A boy who was kidnapped at 6 years old has been found alive over 70 years later.
How did they recognize him?
DNA testing.
Beautiful thing.
A 6-year-old California boy who was kidnapped from an Oakland park by a woman offering to buy him candy has been found more than 70 years later.
This is one of those weird cases where somebody steals a kid just to raise him, right?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
They stole him, like took him to the. You'll
They
see.
just
but,
wanted a child, and they're
someone
like, I'm just
stole
gonna
this
get one.
kid and like gave him to another family to raise.
Wow.
Like, so Luis
Oh my
Armando
God.
Albino,
I see what happened here.
who was abducted February 21st of 1951, is now a retired grandfather and Vietnam veteran. He was reunited with his family in June thanks to the persistence of his now 63-year-old niece, Alida Aliquin, who found her uncle on the East Coast after using an online DNA test, old newspaper records, and family photos.
Wow.
So, like, the family had never really given up hope that Lewis was still alive. They never found a body. There was no signs of anything. So I guess, the family never gave up hope that something was still out there. 4 years later, in February of 2024, she and her daughters found several photos of the adult Albino online and compared them with pictures of him as a child that they dug up in microfilm archives at the Oakland Tribune newspaper. The similarity was striking enough that when she brought her findings to the Oakland police, a new missing persons case was opened and the FBI Department of Justice was looped in. Police then reached out to Albino and asked if he'd be willing to take a DNA test for them. After the results proved it was a match, the FBI helped bring Albino to Oakland along with members of his family to meet his niece Aliquin and her mother and other relatives unknown to him. He was also able to meet his brother, Roger, who was only 10 when he was abducted. Roger died in August, but not before Albino made a second visit to see him and other family members in July.
Wow.
So his brother literally died in August when he was finally reunited with his brother 70 years later.
Wow.
Like, never giving up hope that his brother was like still alive out there somewhere. Albino's mother, who died at the age of 92 in 2005, had kept a vigil of hope for her son, reportedly never stopping visiting the missing persons office of the police every year, believing that he was still alive somewhere. So yeah, this family never forgot him. So they were still actively looking for him 70 years later.
Jesus.
Someone in the family was.
That's incredible.
The woman who kidnapped Albino in 1951, when he could still not speak English after his family moved from Puerto Rico a year earlier, reportedly flew him to the East Coast, where he was eventually raised by a couple who raised him as their own son, the Mercury News reported. Oakland police now consider the missing person case closed, but along with the FBI, they have kept the kidnapping investigation open. Because, like I said, there's still some answers. You kind of want to know who kidnapped him, how they got him, where they got who that person was. Was there some other kind of child ring they were involved in?
I think this person probably offered child adoption services and wasn't real clear on how they got their kids, right? And then when they get the couple pays them the money. They go get the kid. Boom.
Yeah, there's always those like the foster systems and the adoption systems who they call at the last minute sometimes, like, hey, we got a baby that's being given up. We got a kid that needs to be taken in.
What if someone was just acting on their own accord, acting like they represent social services or just some private adoption agency even?
Yeah.
You can be a private adoption agency. That's terrifying.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, they're still going to be interviewing I wonder if they can still interview the couple that raised him. I don't know if they're probably not still alive at this point. The couple that he was given to,
right?
So to kind of figure out like, okay, who gave him to you? What was the situation here? How did you do this?
Right.
So hopefully there's records from his adopted parents or his parents that raised him can figure out how they got him or where he came from or why they ended up having him and raised him as their own.
Yeah.
Like, and never told him that he was not theirs.
Right.
To an extent.
Jeez.
But so that was a bit of a good news, Michael. That was a pretty good headline for this week.
Incredible,
that was just a good story that I was pretty hyped to see. And I think we need those every now and then.
You know what's cool that guy gets that a lot of people don't? It's like, yeah, it sucks that he missed all that time with his family, but all the talking to them and catching up and all that, he gets to hear about how his life could have been different. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a life you could have had And good or bad, hearing those experiences before you die, you kind of get to share those moments with them.
Yeah.
In a way. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like you get to backtrack and kind of be part of two.
You get
because
to hear
you came in right there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get to hear all these memories and all these things that you weren't able to be part of.
Because these are your blood relatives.
Yeah, the people who
actually
have been looking for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a pretty good thing to have, like I said, especially for his brother.
Pretty interesting.
So, we need good stories every now and then, and this one just caught my attention yesterday. I was like, yep, that one's going in.
Gotta have it.
But
nice.
For our last story today, guys, you know what, Michael? You sent me this story, and I genuinely loved it.
Oh, my God. We have to do it.
We have to do it because
it's some shenanigans.
It's 100% a shenanigan, and you know what? This is a problem that's going to be happening more and more nowadays because nerds are reproducing like fucking rabbits. But a boy 7 years old was denied a passport for a family vacation over a shared name with a Star Wars character. Yeah, you got trademark on everything these days.
Seriously,
but
especially Disney.
Yeah, got that Disney trademark, bitch. A Star Wars-loving military family's vacation hit a snag because their son was denied a passport as officials ruled that his peculiar name was too out of this world. Very punny for this article.
Mm-hmm.
But a British soldier, Christian Mowbray's son, was born on May 4th, known as Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you all.
Of course.
So he and his wife, Becky, fittingly named him after one of the most famous families in cinema history. Thus, Loki Skywalker Mowbray came to be. For one, Loki Skywalker. Jesus Christ, that's some fan fiction right there.
Oh my God.
A kid better be either really cool one day or the best Magic the Gathering player that the world's ever seen.
Right. Seriously.
And for the first 7 years of his life, there's not really been a problem with the name, other than every parent snickering when they say, "Oh, what's his name? Loki Skywalker." What?
Well, you don't have to say the middle name, I guess.
Oh, they do. They do. If you name your kid Skywalker,
they definitely do.
You say it.
You don't even read the room. You just say it every time.
You just say it. It's Loki Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? It's like a couple of dogs you got or something? What do we do?
Right.
But that is until the family of five planned to go on vacation to the Dominican Republic in October. With it being their first international trip, they needed their passports. The home office in charge of the nation's immigration, security, and law denied the youngster's passport, claiming it couldn't print Skywalker because of the Disney's copyright on the name.
That's incredible.
I get it. It's a legal
power of
document.
Disney, right?
Listen, that little TM, baby, that little TM carries so much weight.
Apparently, more than we ever
thought. 2 small little letters, so much weight.
It's Jesus.
But yeah, they said that they could not print Skywalker because Disney owned it. The family had no knowledge of this issue when they named their son. The doctors, of course, didn't have a problem with it because it's a hospital. They're like, yeah, put whatever you want. Fucking orange Jell-O. I don't care.
Yeah, we need this room. Get out of here.
Just sign it. I don't care. Well, no, this is England. You can take your time.
Oh, okay.
The family had no knowledge of this. The department told the family it either had to change their son's name or get permission from Disney to use Skywalker. We were not able to use this as it could be a potential issue, Mowbray said. We understand that Loki's middle name is copyrighted, but we have no intention of using it for personal gain. See, that's why we chose Loki for the first name, because you can't really copyright a mythical god. You know, it's kind of hard to trademark that. You know, well, actually, okay, nerd.
All right. Actually,
yeah, we see by your Gandalf doormat, we know what you're going to talk about.
Right.
But it says, I understand their reasoning and positioning behind this, but I believe they need to recognize that modern names are evolving, he added. I understand that if adult changes their name for a stunt, but this is not the case. This child is named from birth.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. This kid wasn't pulling a stunt. His parents were pulling a stunt. It's not the kid's fault. What are you talking about? Right. You can't punish the kid for that. That's not his.
Right.
That was our bit that we were doing. But a very similar issue arose for another UK family earlier a few years ago because they named their daughter after a Game of Thrones character.
Oh.
Southwest England mother Lucy said she needed to get Warner Brothers permission for her 6-year-old daughter Khaleesi to get a passport with the trademark name. That name became so popular after Game of Thrones. Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the 39-year-old mom was planning their dream trip to Disneyland Paris, of course, when she got the bad news. So I had a letter come through the passport office saying that her name is trademarked by Warner Brothers. I had never heard such a thing.
That is crazy.
Luckily for the Mulberry family that their vacation is still on. Apparently they were able to kind of like work around some of the red tape of the passport office, and the passport was actually issued to them.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Listen, it's not we're not doing this for profit. It's a federal document. We need it official. Stamp it, please. Can we go?
Right. That does seem a little bit extreme.
It really does. It's like
why does the federal office give a fuck about Disney? That's scary. That's terrifying. That they were like, oh, wait, hold on. Our boss, Disney, might... hold on a second. I need to call corporate, aka Disney.
Listen, I know Disney has a lot of lawyers, and I just feel like if something happens, my signature's on this, and I don't know.
You're right. They're scared of them.
Mm-hmm. They very much are. I'd be scared of Disney too.
Yeah.
We talked about that. What was that thing a few weeks ago where the guy died at Disney, and they were trying to talk about the you can't.
The lady died because she had a nut allergy.
Yeah, the lady died. Yeah. They were like, you can't sue us because you had Disney Plus, and you said you would never sue Disney or any of Disney's.
They're crazy, man. They're nuts.
Bitch, don't be trying that. Mm-mm. I did start seeing a lot of terms and conditions being updated after that case.
Oh, I bet.
So all of a sudden, all my subscription services were like, we've updated our terms and conditions. Oh, you have you?
Let me take a look at those. Not.
Listen, Amazon, you don't have a theme park yet, so fuck off.
Right.
Although I will get hit by one of your trucks. But Michael, that's all we got today for headlines and shenanigans. I wanted to leave you with something kind of fun.
Yeah.
But definitely a good story this week. But the P. Diddy news, it is what is just all over everyone's mind.
Yeah.
And everyone's feeds right now.
Well, it's all over my feed, that's for sure.
You cannot get away. Well, no, you're a millennial. P. Diddy was part of your life. We grew up with Diddy in our zeitgeist. Yeah. So it's very much in our world right now. A lot of it's a lot of us had the same reaction when R. Kelly was happening and stuff like that. But it was kind of like, it's like, hey, listen, we all knew he was shit. All right, we all knew it was bad. We accepted the music was decent, but we all knew he was bad. Okay, we all knew.
Right. Yep.
It's kind of the same thing with Diddy here, being like, hey, listen, you all been telling us some shit for a while, but
right.
Listen, the music was good.
The music was good. Now it's Diddy's turn to be trapped in a closet.
Now it's Diddy's turn to be trapped in that closet.
All right, guys. Well, if you're trapped in the closet with Diddy, you know what you're going to need besides baby oil? Deodorant.
He's got a lot of baby oil in that closet.
Burn. Deodorant. That's what you need. So you're smelling good. And Oh My Gaia is the best way to smell good, in my opinion.
Probably.
Yeah, it is. But Oh My Gaia is an all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. And guys, Oh My Gaia has tons of scents to choose from vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, Egyptian musk, coconut, dreamsicle, leather, lumberjack, honeysuckle. There's also pear, sweet pea, sailor, barbershop, and so many more, including true crime pine, our very own scent. Thank you very much, Wendy, over there at Oh My Gaia. She hooked us up. And guys, because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can get 15% off. But guess what? The code word's not creeper.
It's not creeper anymore?
We're going to start changing the code word.
What are the creepers going to use now, Michael?
They're going to use Creepvan, Andy.
They're going to use their Creepvan to get around?
No. It's
yeah, they're going to use their Creepvan.
This very confusing,
they're going to use their Creepvan to get around and get their discounts.
No, you can just have it shipped to your house.
Well,
but
still.
Use the code word Creepvan, all one word. It is in the description of this episode, Creepvan, all one word, for 15% off your order at ohmygaia.com. That's OHMYGAIA.com. And make sure you give them a follow at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram. Again, that's ohmygaia.com, the word Creepvan, for 15% off your order. All right, guys, you won't regret it. There is links to Oh My Gaia right below the description of this episode, or you can always check out truecrimeguys.com.
Yes, you can, guys.
All right. Also, be sure to check out patreon.com/True Crime Guys. Not just any Patreon, of course.
Yeah.
We would prefer you check out ours. There's lots of great ones out there. But
there are.
You know,
I'll give them that.
But, I'm a little biased. I think ours is pretty good. We are a founder in Patreon, actually. We've been there a hot minute.
We have a board seat.
Yeah, exactly.
They ask our opinions on things.
Sometimes through emails. But yeah, patreon.com/True Crime Guys. We have different tiers and tons of content on there for you to listen to, as well as early ad-free episodes. These free episodes, early and ad-free with bonus content. Right, Andy? We shoot the shit a little bit on
there. Is always bonus content now. You always catch me off guard. You just keep recording.
That's how we get warmed up. I mean, it's not always pretty, but it's bonus content.
But it works.
It works. But guys, please check that out. Patreon.com/truecrimeguys. Best way to support the show. Also, leave a review. Give us a follow on social media at True Crime Guys. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube. And other than that, I guess we'll just catch you back here next week.
Yeah, guys, I think you should just keep on creeping. I'm the host this week, so I get to say
that's
keep
right.
creeping,
That's right. Go ahead, Andy. Go ahead.
I get to tell them to keep creeping.
Yeah,
this
go
week.
ahead.
So, guys, if you want to keep on creeping,
That'd be great.
you say bye.